During your job search, there's a good chance employers will ask to see your resume, either in person or online. With the average employer spending less than 10 seconds on a resume, applicants need to create and deliver an effective, attention-grabbing resume for every position.
How will you write a resume that will get an employer's attention? Which format is best? Is it better to submit your resume electronically or by regular mail?
In this program, we'll go into detail on answering these questions and more on a critical element of the job search process, the resume. We'll point out the differences between a hard copy and online resume. We'll also discuss the importance of cover letters.
With some of the larger companies receiving up to 1 million resumes each year, we'll show you the best ways to write an effective resume to get you into the door for an interview with an employer. Welcome to the ultimate job search for the 21st century. Hello, and thanks for joining us. I'm Tia Marlier.
And I'm Brett Anderson. As we discuss all the tools available in your job search, the one crucial element you need to create, and one that is a key factor in getting an interview, is the resume.
The resume is an important tool you can use to describe your skills and experiences to an employer without actually meeting them. It tells the employer what you've done and what you can do. It also demonstrates why you're qualified for the position in their company.
Many job seekers believe a well-written resume will get them a job. However, that's not the purpose of the resume. The resume is a necessary introductory tool used to get you into an employer's door for an interview. An effective resume can be the key to that door.
It's amazing to me, after reading so many resumes, I noticed quite a few lack a sense of direction as to what type of job they are going after in our company. You could be the most qualified person for the job, but if you don't submit a resume I can understand and one that stands out from the rest of the crowd, how do I know what you can do for me?
Obviously, there's more than one way to write a resume. The kind of work you've done and the type of skills and experience you have will pretty much determine the format and style that will work best for you. There are 3 basic resume formats to choose from. Each have their own advantages based on the type of business, the industry you're interested in, and your work history. The first style is the functional resume. This style of resume format is designed to explain in descriptive paragraphs what skills and jobs you've done in a particular work area. The advantages of a functional resume are that it allows you to highlight your skills, and it lets you describe a wide variety of related skills and work experience to fit several job categories. The disadvantages to the functional resume are that it de-emphasizes your career growth and job titles, so it can often mask any managerial or supervisory experience you may have. And because you don't list dates with this format, it may look suspicious to employers. If you do decide to use the functional resume style, keep the information short and to the point. The functional resume is best for individuals who don't have a lot of work experience or who may have gaps in their work history, such as students or those who may be starting their career.
The next style of resume is called the chronological. With this style, you list all your training and work experiences in reverse chronological order, starting with your current or most recent job first. Under each job, you would include the name of your employer, dates employed, and highlights of your experiences and accomplishments. You do the same when you list your educational and training backgrounds. The advantage of the chronological resume is that it shows a progression of skills and experiences, responsibility, and growth within a company. On the other hand, if your work record doesn't show these qualities, the chronological format may point out demotions or gaps in your work history. This resume format is best for those who have experiences that relate directly to the position they're applying for and who have a good work history.
The third format is the combination resume, which combines the strong points of both the chronological and functional formats. It allows you to list your work history by job titles and dates of employment, and then explains what experience and accomplishments you've made in a little more detail. The advantage of the combination is it highlights your most relevant skills and is easily targeted to the occupations you're pursuing. The disadvantages are it takes a lot more effort and creativity to write, and it can be confusing if it's not well organized. This style is best for applicants who have both a good work background and skills that match the position they're interested in and qualified for. For older workforce applicants and applicants with extensive work history using the chronological or combination format, be careful with going back too far with dates.
You don't want to have an employer make any predetermined judgments before he or she meets you. You want to show your experience, but downplay your age. The rule of thumb for any resume is to go back 10 years. If you need to go back further to qualify your experience, then use the combination format as your resume style.
All three resume formats can be a targeted resume. And with the way competition is now, the most impressive resume employers see is the targeted. This style of resume is also the most time-consuming and difficult to write because you're writing it specifically for one particular job and company. But if you want to show an employer you're really interested in their company, the targeted resume is the most effective and most impressive style and gives you the greatest chance of getting that interview.
Of all the resumes I receive, it takes me just about 3 seconds to see which ones were mass mailed. The type of resume I want to see are the ones that someone has spent time writing and that's targeted to a specific position within this company. If you can do that, then I'll take the time to read it.
As you can see, there are several resume formats you have to choose from. Check the workbook for examples of each style to determine which format would be best suited for the position you are applying for and for you.
What we'll do now is show you an example of how to construct a targeted resume using the combination format. Start with your full name, present address, and the best means in which an employer can reach you, or where messages can be left. This could be a telephone or a cell phone, and you may want to include your email.
Next, we need to create a strong objective targeted to an employer. This will tell the employer what specific position you're looking for. For example, if you're looking for a position as a training coordinator with a sales company, your objective may read, "Seeking sales training coordinator position for all right distribution." Write the objective so the person reading it can easily identify how your skills and experience relate directly to the position the company is offering. It will also show that you took the time to do your research and individualized your resume for the specific company.
Next, you want to create your summary of qualifications statement. This section gives the employer a good picture of the variety of experiences and accomplishments you bring to the position and why they should invite you in for an interview. When describing your experiences, highlight only the most important skills and abilities you have that tie directly to the position you're applying for, and be specific. Examples would be more than 12 years
experience in all phases of the sales and marketing field, expertise in curriculum development for in-class and online training, effective supervisor and motivator of a sales team of 20 representatives.
This immediately gives the employer a summary of the types of skills and experience you have for a specific position. Remember, if the person reading it is just skimming through it, they need to know right away how and where you fit into their company.
You have about 10 seconds to persuade an employer to read your resume further. By the time they read the first few lines, you have either caught their attention or your resume has not done the job. So your first sentence has to appeal to them directly, focusing on their needs, not yours. It needs to tell the employer, "I want the exact job you are offering." More importantly, entice that employer to keep reading. So the summary you write needs to be very strong and very convincing.
The next part of the combination resume is describing the types of skills and experiences you have. The goal is to convince an employer what you can do for them is better than anyone else who will send them a resume. Because you're targeting your resume to a position in a company, you need to write out experiences and accomplishments that relate directly to the position you are pursuing. Starting with the skills and accomplishments that are the most relevant to the position you are applying for, think about a problem or situation you experienced in a job, what action you took, and the result of it. And when you describe your skills, you need to focus on accomplishments, not tasks, and use numbers and statistics. Under the heading of training and development, your example would be planned, coordinated, and
conducted management conferences attended by 125 managers nationwide, which resulted in a quality rating of 4.9 out of a 5-point scale. Implemented a new customer service training program, which resulted in a 20% increase in sales and a 30% gain in customer satisfaction. developed a highly effective employee assistance program for a department of over 350 employees. Program implementation has decreased absenteeism and has increased production ratio from 12% to 27% in 1 year.
You can break down your experiences and accomplishments under different subcategories and put them in order of importance. For example, management and research. Then, describing the experience and accomplishments under each. For each case, include any technologies and equipment you've worked with that tie directly into the position you're pursuing. Employers are interested in the type of work you've done. You need to show them the tangible results of your job history.
After work experience, you'll need to list the training and education you've received, beginning with the most recent training attended. Include degrees earned and any licenses and certificates which relate to the occupation.
Education dates are a little tricky. If you have recent education, it may look like you have limited work experience. On the other hand, it could show an employer you have current training and education in a technical field. But let's say you've been out of school for a long time. This could reveal to an employer you may be an older worker or have outdated training and education. So if you fall under this dilemma, the best is to add the dates for any education and training if it's within the last 10 years.
Along with your resume, you'll want to include a listing of your references. An employer may ask for a list of people who know you both personally and professionally, and who can answer questions that an employer may have about you. What particular skills and experiences you have, what your work style is, how you can benefit a company, and what type of an employee you are.
When choosing your references, you need to have people who will come across professionally. I like to ask some pretty tough questions to see what kind of person I'm considering to hire. So I expect these people to be prepared to know what to say about you and how to say it.
Yes, is Stacy Farnsworth there?
This is she.
Stacy, my name is Bob Andrews. Courtney Phillips used you as a reference, and I was wondering if you had a moment to answer a few questions.
Absolutely.
What can you tell me about Courtney?
What would you like to know?
Well, can you tell me how you know Courtney and a little bit about your working relationship with her?
I worked with her on a lot of projects at this company. She was easy to get along with, but I really liked about her was that she gave very good direction. She supervised us, but also trusted us to do our jobs. She was really a good team leader.
You can use someone as your reference who may have been a past coworker, or a supervisor, or other team members. Think about people you may have dealt with in your past positions who were outside customers or vendors. And it's a good idea to use several people as your references and mix them up so you don't keep using the same ones over and over. Also, make sure you first ask if they will be a reference for you, and if so, let them know the types of jobs you're applying for and give them a copy of your resume. Oh, and be sure to ask them what they would say about you.
Prepare your list of references on a separate page, listing each individual with their full title, contact information, and what their relationship is to you. Then, if an employer asks to see a list of references, you're prepared with the best people who can represent you.
When you write your resume, keep it short and to the point. Here are some guidelines that will help. First, make sure the person reading your resume can find the information quickly and easily. So make it succinct and concise. Using bullets may help. Use plenty of white space. Also, use black ink and fonts that are easy to read. As in our example, the information doesn't need to be complete sentences. Include volunteer work, memberships, and affiliations, which relate to the position or field you're interested in. Also, leave off personal information. The appearance of your resume should be neat and clean with no errors or corrections. When printing out your resume, use matching white or off-white bond paper. And since no one knows you better than yourself, write your own resume. There are a lot of resume writing services out there, but they can be expensive and a little too slick. Now here are some don'ts to remember. First, don't exaggerate your accomplishments. If you get an interview, chances are the employer will be checking with your former employers. And if you do get hired, you could be fired for lying on your resume. Don't discuss salary in your resume. Save this for the negotiation stage once the job has been offered. Avoid abbreviations and jargon. Instead, use action words with lots of impact. Finally, never mass mail your resume. Most experts agree sending your resume blindly to hundreds of companies and employers will almost guarantee your resume will end up in the recycle bin. And that can be very expensive.
In almost every case, the resume should be one page. Very few employers want to read a lengthy resume. Some positions require an expanded resume, so you may want to find out from an employer if they need a more detailed version. And if so, keep it to the point as best you can. If it does run to 2 pages, make sure you use up the entire second page. But there are certain instances when it's necessary to be longer.
Federal resume applications follow a very different format. Where the goal of the standard resume is to get an interview, federal hiring decisions can be based completely on the resume itself. These documents differ from standard formats because there is no page limit. Federal resumes can be as long as 4 pages, and more is not uncommon, and they are much more thorough. You'll need to go into detail on how your experience, education, and qualifications fit the vacancy announcement, and failure to submit all requested documents will mean disqualification of your application.
When you write your resume, do several drafts until you're satisfied with the result. Have a few people look it over for any errors or suggestions they may have, and then save it to a computer so you can easily change and update your resume to target it to a variety of positions and companies.
We have included several examples of different styles and types of resumes in the workbook, with explanations that will help you build your own.
The overriding purpose of the resume is to have the opportunity for an interview, to tell an employer you can do the job. So, if you're not being invited in for interviews and you think the resume is not helping your chances, don't hesitate to make changes.
Once you complete your hard copy resume, you have laid most of the groundwork for your online version.
This ad here says to email their company a resume, but that's all it says. I don't really know how to respond. Do I send the resume I already have, or do I create a completely new one? And do I just type it into the email? It isn't really explained here, and I'm a little bit confused.
A lot of employers request that applicants email them their resume or have them apply online on their company website. Perhaps the biggest myth about online resumes is that it's a completely different resume than your traditional one. In fact, this is not the case at all. Your hard copy resume, for the most part, is the same information and content as the electronic or online resume, just with a few modifications.
Don't let the words electronic resume scare you. Once you create your traditional resume, you're pretty much ready to go with your online one. It's as simple as taking the resume you've created and saving it into an electronic version employers and scanners can read. The major difference from your regular resume is basically the formatting of it, how it looks, the style, the font, things like that. And some formatting items you use in your hard copy resume, like bullets and graphics, you can't use with the online version. Either they won't show up in an employer's email or the layout of it will change drastically.
Electronic resumes are a tool which allows the applicant the opportunity to post their resume on a career site or email it to an employer across the web. And employers use it to view qualified applicants electronically and a lot more efficiently. The way to create your online resume is simply open your hard copy resume and go to File and Save As. Retitle it, something like Online Resume. Then go through the resume and take out all of the formatting you have in there. Bold lettering, underlined words, indents, any graphics you have, and things of that sort. Make the document all left justified. Change all of the text to either Arial or Times New Roman font. This makes it easier for employers to read and to print out the resume. Once you're done, save it. Just as with your hard copy resume, you can also add information to it, make changes, and target it to specific companies. Now you're ready to paste your resume into the email message and have it available to complete the fill-in-the-blank resume blocks employers and career sites tend to use.
A lot of the larger companies are implementing scanners as a way to quickly read through the immense amount of resumes they receive electronically. Scanners look for industry-standard buzzwords, known as keywords, that match up to the specific position. Computers read resumes differently than people do, so your resume needs to not only trigger the scanner, but also attract the eye of the employer.
When trying to match up keywords, you need to do your research. Look over the job description and use as many of the keywords they use to describe the position. So use action keywords to describe job titles you've held, like managed, planned, and supervised. Even words like drove, repaired, or constructed to tell an employer the duties and experiences you have. And explain the results you've achieved and accomplishments you've made. You may want to include specific programs or technology tools you've worked with that a company will recognize, like macromedia software or back-end scripting programs, or tools and equipment you can operate, like backhoe loader or even forklift. Words that might typically work well for a resume, like responsible for and in charge of, will be passed over by the scanners. And then, when you apply to the company, use the exact title as listed by the employer.
It's a good idea to keep 2 versions of your resume on hand. A hard copy resume to hand to employers and a computer version to submit your resume electronically. Now here are some additional points to keep in mind when creating and submitting your resume online. Avoid tabs. Instead, use the spacebar or the return key to format your resume. Use asterisks instead of bullets to highlight particular skills or areas of your resume. You won't need page numbers since it's all one document. Make sure you proofread and spell check. And when sending your resume, avoid mass distributing. Know that it is one of the least effective ways to get your resume to employers. Companies are overwhelmed with sometimes hundreds or thousands of resumes for any given job, and rarely, if ever, look at the ones that are mass distributed. Finally, follow the employer's directions exactly before you submit. If it says email your resume, email your resume. If it says fax, then fax your resume.
We use technology every day in this office, and it's the way we look for potential applicants. If I get an email sent to me as an attachment, it's gone. No cover letter, and I don't know who it's from, I've got to delete it. Misspellings or grammatical errors drive me absolutely crazy. This job requires using the computer as a daily function of the job. I'm looking more closely at the applicants who know how to use this technology effectively and who can do the job. That's the first test.
Email your resume to a few personal contacts and have them look it over for errors and layout. Ask them how it looks and if they have any suggestions. After that, print it out and read it over. If you have done it right, it should look good whether it's scanned, received by email, or read on paper by an employer.
Finally, don't let your resume just sit there. Many databases sort the thousands, if not millions of resumes they receive by date of submission. It's a good idea to renew your resume approximately every 14 days to get it back on the top of the list. You do this by logging onto the account and renewing your resume.
Realize that posting resumes online is not the most effective tool in your job search. There are millions of applicants at any given day sending their resumes electronically for millions of job openings, which makes the competition that much tougher. But knowing how to use technology effectively in your job search will be critical to your success. We've created a step-by-step online resume for you to practice on in the workbook, so you're ready to go when you do the real thing.
For every resume you send out, either traditional or online, you need to show an employer you took the time and effort to write a cover letter. And it's possible the cover letter may be more important than the resume, since it's most likely the first thing an employer will read about you.
I get a lot of resumes that don't come with a cover letter. Some people tend to spend too much time and effort creating their resume, and they forget about the importance of a cover letter. If the resume is created to get an interview, then the cover letter is created for the employer to read your resume and connect with you as a person. I want to know why you're the best person for the job.
You should never send any resume without a cover letter. You want to show the person who reads your resume you know information about their company. It has to be creative and attention-getting. The purpose of the cover letter is to introduce and sell yourself to a prospective employer and encourage them to read your resume. You write the letter specifically to an employer or company about how your skills, your experience, and abilities match the needs of the company. The cover letter is written in a standard business letter format with your name and contact information placed at the top of the page. Include the date, the name of the company or organization, and the address. Then address the letter to a specific person who is the influential hiring authority within the company. If you don't know who that person is, try to research that information online or call the company directly and explain to the receptionist the position you are applying for and who you would address your resume to. If after all that research you can't find out who that person is, then address the letter to the hiring authority. The standard cover letter will have 3 parts. First is the introduction, which tells the employer which position you want, why you're applying for it, and how you found out about the opening. If you have a contact name, refer to it in this paragraph.
Enclosed is my resume for the computer production position you have available at BART Institute. I have discussed the position with Randy Martinez, District Supervisor in your production department, and he asked that I contact you concerning this opening. After researching your company extensively on your impressive website, I feel I am a strong candidate for this position.
The second paragraph of the letter explains why you are the ideal candidate for the job and why you want to work there. Here's where your research on the position and the company is so critical. You need to briefly describe how your work experience and skills and education match up to what the employer requires. Have a couple of specific examples of what you will bring to the position and how you can benefit the company.
I have over 4 years' experience as a computer technician and 2 years' experience as a senior technician providing training and supervisory duties. Throughout my career, I have won top awards and recognition in this field and trained other representatives to increase their experience and knowledge in the computer arena. I am extremely reliable about meeting deadlines and completing tasks unsupervised. Your company philosophy of working as a team, along with my experience in programming and networking, would be an excellent fit for both of us.
The concluding paragraph should include a statement which tells the employer you are a strong match for this opportunity and you are looking forward to meeting with them and how you can be reached. You may also want to add a proactive approach by stating that you will be contacting them within a week to 10 days to follow up.
I strongly believe I would be an excellent fit in your company by what I can bring to the position. If given the opportunity, I would welcome an invitation to discuss my experience with you in an interview.
Conclude with a standard closing such as respectfully or sincerely and sign your name. Keep in mind that the cover letter prompts the employer to read your resume, so be sure not to repeat any of the information that's already in the resume.
If you're asked to email an employer your cover letter and resume during your job search, recognize employers will spend a very short time reviewing your resume. So you'll need to email a cover letter introducing your resume so the employer knows what you're applying for. The advantage of using the internet the right way not only demonstrates your qualifications for the job, but it can also show your advanced communication skills.
I would say the biggest problem I have in getting a resume emailed to me is from people who don't clearly state the position they're applying for. There are no less than a dozen different openings at any given time in my company. So tell me exactly what job it is that you are applying for right up front in the email message. Don't make me hunt around for it or guess what it is you're interested in.
When the employer asks you to email them a resume, they specifically want you to create your resume in the body of the email message. Very rarely will they ask you to send it as an attachment. If an employer sees an attachment and he or she does not know who it's from, with all the viruses out there and different programs being used, there's a good chance they're going to delete it rather than read it. So open the online resume you've saved, copy the entire document, and then paste it in the email as a message. And then type the specific title you're applying for in the subject line of your email, such as resume for senior administrative position. This way it'll be routed to the appropriate person. After you have your resume in the email message, you can tailor it to the specific company or position with the objective and the work summary. You're basically creating a targeted resume, but you're doing it through email so the employer knows what it is you're looking for. And then, just as with the traditional cover letter, spend the time telling the employer specific items about yourself that your resume did not.
For both the online and hard copy version, keep the cover letter short and to the point, while clearly communicating what you are looking for and what you can offer an employer. A half page is more than enough. Check your grammar and spelling and keep a copy of each letter you send out.
And if it's been a week since you've sent your resume and you haven't heard anything, call the employer and ask if they've had a chance to look over your resume and the status of the position.
Thank you very much.
Your resume and cover letter will be one of the most important tools you will use in your job search.
That's why it's so imperative to do your research, take your time, and do it right. The ultimate goal is to have your resume stand out from the pile of others seeking the same position by following these important guidelines. You have 3 resume formats to choose from, each with their own advantages.
The functional, which allows you to describe your skills and achievements in paragraph form and does not include dates.
The chronological, where you lay out your experience and accomplishments in a succinct timeline.
And a combination of the functional and chronological formats.
No matter what the format you choose, you will need to target your resume to the specific position and company.
Use accomplishment statements when describing your skills and experience.
Provide a separate document for your references, and carefully choose your professional contacts who can speak clearly and respectfully about you.
When creating your online resume, you will basically use the same information as your hard copy resume. The formatting and the way you send it is what makes it unique.
Write a short, effective cover letter to every company you send a resume to on how your skills and experience relate to the position they're offering.
Don't forget to check grammar and spelling and make both your resume and cover letter clean and easy to read.
Check the workbook for resume and cover letter guidelines along with several examples of each.
Some applicants believe that just because they're well qualified for the position, it means that's enough for them to get the job. But that's just not true. Actually, it's the person who writes a well-written, effective cover letter and resume who receives the call for the interview.
And the interview is the last major hurdle a person will have in their effort to find the right position. In the next program, we will take you into one of the most stressful experiences you may ever encounter, the interview.
Our goal is to prepare you to be successful in an interview, to make you shine as the top candidate.
This will be the final step you will have to make in your job search process, but also the most important one. You are one step away from landing a successful position. Good luck in writing your resume